Already talk to me. Welcome to Talk to Me Tuesdays with TMBUK2, and we here once again with God's grace and mercy upon us, and we thank Him for that. Talk to me. I have a special guest this evening, a dear friend of mine, a comrade. We go back a long way. It is a pleasure to sit here with you, brother. I want to first off let you know I'm proud to call you comrade and brother, man, and doing what you're doing. And handling how you handling what you handling, you know? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
JERROLD LANGFORD.
Yes, sir.
Right on.
TMBUK.
Cold brother.
How you doing, man?
Man, I'm blessed, man.
That's what's happening.
Look here, JERROLD. You're a licensed professional counselor, right?
Right. So,
bro, this some hot shit I'm finna ask you, right? You got a lot of alphabets behind your name. You know, we come a long way when we got letters behind our name. You know, some been done, some been accomplished, some been certified, some been tested. So, salute to that, you know. So explain to the people, licensed professional counselor, LPC, ADC, and ICADC. Break those down for us, man.
Right, bro. Those just a lot of letters, man.
A lot of letters.
That's just a lot of. That's just letters.
Okay.
You know, at the end of the day, yeah, I'm a licensed counselor.
Okay.
You know, and I have a few other certificates dealing with alcohol and, you know, addiction, ADC.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. So, that's what the
alcohol and drug counselor.
Alcohol and drug counselor.
Right.
Well, man, to you, that might be some elementary shit, but to a lot of us, you just helped us do something, because I didn't know what it was, you know? In obtaining that, let's start off like this, bro. What made you want to do what you're doing for us even being a counselor? What in your life said, hey, I want to be a counselor. I want to help folks.
You know, I think it started way back. I think it started, you know, in my community, with my family. You know, being around and seeing a strong family union, being brought up around, you know, a strong family values. So I think that was the foundation. And psychology is something that, you know, I guess it kind of chose me.
Psychology?
Yeah, psychology. You know, but something we use every day. It's an everyday part of our lives, you know. You know, we develop it or not, you know. And so, you know, it's always been a part of me.
So when you say
all of us,
we develop it, and when you including all of us, you know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? When you say we develop it, to the person out there that, you know, psychology, that might not even know the definition of that, or might not have an understanding of what exactly that's coming from, psychology, you know.
So let's just break it down. You know, psychology, you know, most commonly known, study of the mind, human behavior.
Hold on, study of the mind, human behavior, go ahead.
Right, you know, emotions and things of that nature. The Latin called it the psyche or the soul. So, you know, it's the study of the soul. And I can go with that. I can rock with that. I understand what they're pulling at.
That sounds like some good pimping to me. Talk to me!
Think about it, though. You know, psychology is, you know, it's just how we handle these experiences. We all have these experiences, you know, with people, places, and things throughout our journey. And, you know, we, hopefully, psychology in its nature is about looking back at those experiences, you know, and we look back at those experiences, we draw from them, we pull strength and other things.
I think sometimes people have a hard time looking back.
Yeah.
How do you play that card when looking back can hold you back?
Well, you know, I don't even think that is something that, you know, it's not even really voluntary. You know, what
I feel you.
you're talking about is, you know, trauma. You know, that's something, you know, and that's a part of it.
Okay.
So let's break it down. You know, psychology, again, it's the, you know, we're talking about mind. We're talking about human behavior, emotions, and how we, and all of these are part of these experiences.
Okay.
And so how we deal with these experiences, or what we take from these experiences, how they impact us.
Okay.
The impressions that they leave upon us. That is something that affects the trajectory of our, you know, of our life in many ways.
Even with the trauma, definitely, right?
Oh, definitely.
Trauma.
Trauma is one of the biggest issues, brother, in our in our neighborhoods. Because think about the African American psychology.
Okay.
The African American psychology is one of struggle. We've been
slavery, Black History Month. Oh man, talk to me.
We've been
where you come from.
Absolutely.
Little of this, little of that. Talk to me.
Yeah, we've been kind of struggling throughout our existence.
Let them
fighting
tell
for
it.
equality.
Let them tell it.
Absolutely. Or let's just take, say, the last few hundred years. Yeah. So over the last few hundred years, that has been a part of our struggle, or that's been part of our psychology. But as well, let's not get stuck there. Let's just say, in addition to that, our psychology is one of resilience,
right?
One of creativity,
right?
One of deep spiritual existence.
That's right. That's
right.
You
know what I mean? So, as we're talking about psychology, the Egyptians kind of looked at psychology. It was kind of grafted in with a lot of the spirituality, philosophy, the mystical, as well as the medical practices.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
I got you.
So, some people have found papyrus from Egypt, ancient Egypt, and had the nerve to put their name on it.
I got you.
But at the same time, some of these papers talk about different spells for dealing with things. So psychology is all a part of that. Psychology is a part of our existence in terms of us being self-actualized. Excuse me. Self-actualized or becoming
self-actualized, okay,
or self-actualization,
okay,
in terms of becoming the greatest version of ourselves,
okay, all right.
So in terms of becoming the greater versions of ourselves, psychology is a big part of that.
Okay, let me ask you this. Damn, I noticed even in the general conversation of psychology counseling that you're making a lot of reference with a lot of African standards with that.
Well, okay. Well, let me clarify.
No. Let me ask you. No reason to clarify.
No, go ahead.
Well, you might want to clarify maybe what I'm going to ask. Does your because you made reference with psychology, we're here speaking on your counselor, what brought it about, and we're starting with the foundation of psychology. And you're making a great reference a couple of times with the African perspective.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to ask. I know with the letters and everything, there's a curriculum that you probably had to go by standard, but it seems to me that you have more of a personal interest in psychology as well, sharing the African attributes or African, complements to psychology within itself. Do you bring that attitude into your practice when you have your clients, when you're speaking with them, or however you do your counseling or therapy?
I think I think it depends on who the client is, because of course I can relate.
Include the demographics. Do you have a certain demographic that you're aiming for too, with your studying?
Actually, I'm open to all demographics. I have women, I have children, I have men, of different races and whatnot. To me, psychology is a thing that's so personal because I know for me a lot of the different skills, or the different trainings or skills. So to roll back, what I will say is this.
I'm listening.
Who I am is a part of my psychology.
Who I am, talk to me.
That's a part of my psychology. And so I can't separate that. Just like I don't separate, my ethnicity or my nationality from my being, from my race or from history or from no part. I'm not separating any of that. I am that I am.
That's right.
Right. And so that's a part of but at the same time, I think it's important, my affinity for the arts have drawn me to study from all different perspectives. So, as we talking about psychology from the, European perspective, then, we talk about the Sigmund Freuds and all of these people, exactly, who you most commonly know and understand.
That's right.
But psychology is a part of the human experience, like I was saying, in terms of even with a person being conscious, without you understanding the connection between psychology, because I think first, you have to go through a period of self-correction, because how can you get straight?
Talk to me.
Without emotional intelligence, it's going to affect your communication. It's going to affect your decision making.
That's right.
It's going to affect your ability for critical thinking.
That's right.
It's going to affect your ability to really be able to manage, or go. It's going to affect your ability to be able to see your trauma, understand your trauma, have a
even to know if it is
to be able to apply unbiased analysis and evaluation in order to make a judgment
on self,
on life, and this experience, your experience with people, places, and things.
Exactly.
Right. And so as you looking at your experiences with people, places, and things, it's helping you're building your own record. Your own what they call it, your own records.
Okay.
Let's keep it at that. Yeah.
Brother, you're doing a great job, man. The people speak, bro. They shout you out, man. I'm asking the people online if they have any questions they might want to throw at you too, Brother Gerald.
Okay.
Yeah, bro, because I know you personally.
Right.
And we've studied in our travels in our younger years. We've always went over the knowledge in whatever environment we was in. You know what I'm saying? So
let me tell them about one of the first times where I became personal with TMBUK2.
Talk to me.
TMBUK2 takes me to his apartment. We working together one of these places. TMBUK2 takes me to his apartment, and at that time, I've been on my way to learning and picking up tools, listening to Farrakhan, and shout out to the brother Minister Farrakhan, and and so but I known and recognized and understood Bob Marley, but you brought me into your apartment and you put on the song War. And from that song, which is, by the way, my favorite Bob Marley song.
Talk to me.
And with all this consciousness, his social consciousness, but you kind of showed me Bob Marley in a different light. You know what I mean?
Right on.
And that was right in line with your character in terms of what I known of you and what I saw of you. Right. So, you too have been an inspiration to me in this journey. You know what I mean? And that was a beautiful time, man.
It was.
Yeah.
Gratitude for that.
Man, I appreciate you.
Respect.
Yeah, no doubt. Respect.
Yes, sir. For those that might not know, speaking of Bob Marley, right? How frequency just currency just flows, right? Bob Marley, that particular song, Gerald, is the speech that Haile Selassie did before the United Kingdoms. For those who might not know,
right?
A lot of people do know. But that song itself was the actual speech that the Emperor Haile Selassie spoke to at the United Kingdoms. He was bringing charges, against the Italians. They was attacking them. He was calling for help.
Absolutely,
man. That's much respect on that, Jerry. We was in our 20s.
Absolutely.
You know where we at now?
Right.
God's grace and mercy.
Yes.
His favor.
Yes.
That's why this moment is a real priceless moment for me to even have a little young podcast. We just starting out, TMBUK2 making his way, and how you took out your time to come hang out with us.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it.
Let's see here, what we got? Let me see something. I gotta take my glasses off. Yes, sir. It seems our brothers in the black community still shy away from addressing their mental health with professionals. How do we change this and heal our brothers? Shouts out to McQueen's sister, Yogi Dada.
All right.
Did you gather that?
Yes, I did. I appreciate the question.
Yes.
I think that really, as a community, we should talk about mental health more. We should start to, open up and address it. There's a lot of, things that are real, sacred and personal in the black community. And I think that's always been one because, the great sense of pride that a lot of people have. But at the same time, we have to deal with these issues because they're part of this experience.
Okay.
And I think that we all can learn from that because, we all experience anxiety. We all experience some form of depression or mood swings, and our experience with life and how we feel about these experiences and how they are impacting us.
Okay.
It affects our behavior in our everyday lives, in our decisions, in our marriages. You know, and so yes, in order to, you know, really help a person, yes, I think the question was about how can we help black men, you know, heal.
Yeah, that's right. Addressing the mental health with professionals.
Exactly.
Heal our brothers.
Yeah, and I think that it is a process.
It's a process.
I think the brothers have to be willing to embark upon that process. I've embarked upon that process with many brothers, you know, from all different demographics, from, you know, all different social ties, you know, education level, financial level, you know, different backgrounds.
I'm with you.
And so in this experience, as brothers are willing to open themselves up for the process and they're willing to, you know, humble themselves for correction, which we all do. This ties back into the spiritual part of it.
Okay.
You know, because if, you know.
I think that's great that you have that connection, bro, especially with the spiritual perspective. Continue, brother, my bad.
That's important. That's, you know, that's the purpose. I think, you know, it's like a vehicle. Good psychology. You know, it's like a vehicle. You know, it should take you somewhere.
Talk to me!
And when you get there, you should know what to do.
Talk to me! Look at you.
Timber.
Hey,
but
yeah, hey, I hope you
that
answered that
was
question.
a good question. And so there are a lot of different forms, and there's a lot of different places where you can go and find mental health, different resources for mental health.
I'm with you.
But I definitely think that's something that we need to think about. One of the ways that we can help our younger brothers.
Please, shout out.
And it's very critical, you know, it's shout out to the black family. Because I think black families, you know, their ability to maintain, you know, this family unit, forever how long that may be, you know, I think that's a plus. And that's a positive. And a lot of time within the, you know, these experiences, I think because it should be marriage as a component of the family unit, the main component, right? It should be that this experience should enhance us. It should help us become better. We have to dig deep to find resolve or find humility or, you know, or to grow, because as individuals grow, relationships grow. You know, when individuals can't continue to grow and evolve, then relationships,
that's correct,
you know, in some ways stop.
That's correct.
And so psychology is definitely tied to that. And so, and that's what we're talking about. So in every aspect of life, you know,
I'm with you.
One of the best ways that we can affect our young men is to help them identify emotions. You know, think about it like this. You know, when we were young, you know, the average kid comes into the house, you know, he had a conflict or something with kids. Outside, somebody said to him, hey, get on back out there, you know. Or, hey, if you don't whoop him, then I'm going to whoop you.
That's right.
Or, men don't cry, you know. And after being conditioned, after several times experiencing that, you know, our young men start to internalize, you know, how this is, or to just ignore my feelings. You know, and push on through. And in many situations in a man's life, that's a good strategy.
That's right.
But it's a situational strategy and not a life strategy. So without emotional intelligence, because when our sisters came into the house, it was, hey, what happened? Who did that to you? You know, what happened then? How'd that make you feel? You see, and she starts to answer these questions. So she starts to, by virtue of this dialogue, she starts to understand, identify what she feels, understand how that impacts her, understand how her emotions impact the people around her, and eventually we learn how to manage emotions. So sometimes the way we have conditioned ourselves is a part of the problem, because you know, if you understand our history,
ourselves though,
or evidently, because think about it like this: if you're a teenager that grew up in a dysfunctional home, at some point you have been impacted by your environment, but at some point you have to make a decision about how you want to live.
Do you think the theory of the trauma of slavery, the mentality of slavery has an effect, even with us coming up. Our folks, our parents was doing the best that they knew at that time for us, training us. Okay, you fight through that, you go through that. Men don't, boys don't cry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they was adapting to what the culture, well, I ain't gonna say culture, what we have been through for us, the relationship they have been through with the struggle.
Right.
Because me and my brother was looking at it today. You know, the Civil Rights Bill was just written in 64.
Mm-hmm.
And you got cats, you know, like myself, born in 72. That's just a few years before I come through, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So our parents, they really reflected on, okay, we come this far. This is what you got to do to get this.
Right.
Do you think that that whole slavery theory of trauma still is spinning from generation to generation, generation to generation, psychological wise, for as I ain't got time to cry, for as being the burden, the proposed burdens of being a melanated man, the automatic you're born into this, the relation that we have with police, the relation we have with just the public in general, the melanated man.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that slavery and that training have us in the shape that we're in today for, it's us, in my analysis, simply not loving ourselves, therefore we don't love our brother, therefore it's so easy to commit what we do to each other?
Right. And I guess first, yes. You know, and that's a very broad topic. Absolutely. You know, what we've experienced culturally, as well as from a familial or an individual perspective, it definitely, it's a part of our psychology today. We're still dealing with it, you know?
Yes, sir.
You know, we live in a, you know, I don't want to get too political, but, you know, we live in a supremacist society. We live in a white supremacist society. I mean, this is just facts, not, you know.
Now, when you say you don't want to get too political,
Yeah, right.
let that man explain that, because this Talk to Me Tuesday with TMBUK2. We talk about every goddamn thing. Now,
Oh, yeah.
Political, would that be infringing on your positioning, on your, are you obligated in some kind of way to not be political? Is that a personal choice, or was you just throwing words?
No,
not to be political. Talk to me.
Actually, no, I have no restraints.
All right.
In terms of,
So Buck over here just calling you on your shit right now.
I'm not
Yeah, talk to me.
obligated to anybody. You know, I'm able to speak freely.
Talk to me. That's a great feeling, huh?
Right. Absolutely.
Great feeling.
Absolutely.
Gerald, I got a question coming up from a Miss Peggy Langford Sharpley.
Okay.
I'm assuming this is family right here.
Right.
And I got other family members hey, they bigging you up, man. And then I'm gonna let the people know the brother's not even on Facebook, so man, give him a shout out for that. You gotta be one of the only cats in the world who does not have a Facebook page. Talk to me. But Gerald, I wanna before we keep going, and I ask you this question, I want you to tell the people where you're located. Basically, a real breakdown of what your services are. We're going to come back on it. But I didn't want to go any further without letting the people know where you're located, how to get in contact with you, your company's name. I looked at your bio, your 7 years experience, strong with it. So let the people know where they can find you, your information, you know, thus far right now, and then we're going to cover that again.
Right. I am located here in Birmingham at 201 Beacon Parkway West, over in the Birmingham, Homewood area. And I offer individual, group counseling, you know, do some couples, family counseling, you know, a lot of dealing with a lot of different issues, adolescent issues, male issues, you know, trauma, you know, addiction.
Okay.
You know, so we try to be very versatile.
Now, I want to say this real quick to the people out in the beautiful world of America and the world of the global itself. He was very humble right there. Psychology today says the brother has specialties and expertise in things. Top specialties is trauma and PTSD, addiction and anxiety. All right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Gerald, you like a Superman right now, Clark Kent. Check me out. Expertise, right? ADHD, adoption, alcohol use, anger management, behavior issues, career counseling, child, chronic relapse, codependency, coping skills, depression, developmental disorders, divorce, domestic abuse, domestic violence, drug abuse, dual diagnosis, emotional disturbance, family conflict, grief, infidelity. There's more. Internet addiction, I'm assuming that might be porn addiction. Life coaching, life transitions, marital, premarital, men's issues, oppositional defiance, ODD, parenting, peer relationships, racial identity, relationship issues, school issues, self-esteem, sexual abuse, sexual addiction, spirituality, sports performance, stress, substance use, suicidal addiction, and teen violence. Your expertise. Brother, I want to commend you on that. And I'm sure that the people out there know that somewhere amongst that, we all might need getting a little talking to, huh?
Right, brother. It's just, studying.
Studying.
Just study your craft, just as you do, in the studio. You just beginning. And as you continue to do shows, you learn more, you pick up on things. And so, when we've been working in the field for a long time, we have a lot of different experiences.
Man, I think it's beautiful, bro.
I appreciate it,
that
bro.
you are able to be that vast with it. And I was reading where you was targeting, the melanated community. Let me ask this question first. Miss Peggy Langford, talk to me. She said, how do you communicate to the black culture that counseling is okay? What does that conversation look like?
Right.
Great question.
Yeah, that was a great question. Thank you. Traditionally, counseling, as we stated a little bit earlier, was created, in a part of American society where there were only white males' perspective in the universities and in the field.
Period.
And so a lot of their research was done just with that targeted audience.
I got you.
Socioeconomically as well. And so as it pertains to people of different ethnicities, nationalities, different cultural backgrounds and perspectives.
I'm with you.
Yeah, there is I kind of got lost in my answer right then.
I feel you.
But what we were talking about was she asked a question, which was
how's that conversation sound?
How was that conversation had? That conversation, I think it is. Where I was going was traditionally we didn't go to counseling because there was no one there that we could relate to.
Grandma now.
Exactly. That was our counselors.
That's
right.
right.
You had the elders in the community. You remember when?
See, that's that village.
Your mother was going through a hard time, perhaps in her marriage, and all the other women in the neighborhood came over and they combed her hair and they cooked for her.
I'm good.
Exactly. And so but back in those days we had a collective community.
But it wasn't called counseling. What was it?
But we had elders in place because we came from a different tradition. Psychology was a part of. But the way it was facilitated in our communities or in our villages is a little bit different than what you might see. And that's why there is a need for, exactly, cultural diversity. And so what that question looks like in our community, that question now, because we understand that was our past, now we're in a different place. And we're still struggling with our past. We're still struggling with a lot of that trauma that we had experienced. So now we need some help. And there's nothing wrong. That's a question of ego. Again, in order for us to learn, in order for us to find the best version of ourselves, we have to be corrected. We have to understand that in the process of this experience, we have been very much indoctrinated.
That's right.
And so along with bringing in new knowledge, there is also the shedding of other knowledge or other information. So that conversation should be a conversation that we should address as a family, as a community. Because if your son grew up in a household where counseling was available and something that was done by other peer family members, he or she would consider it more. And so it's something that as a community, we need to understand how it helps us. Because sometimes we don't know what we don't know.
That's right.
And as young men, especially, we have a lot of bravado. You know, when we're young, we have all the energy and no wisdom.
That's right.
When we get older, we got all the wisdom and no energy, right?
So
that's where we need that connection, you know, and through emotional intelligence. Because if we are in a better mental space, if we're more emotionally and mental stable, then we can deal with the ills of our society and life in so much in more effective ways. We could start to have union. You know, we could start to be more unified and start collecting our finances and collecting our thinking. As I stated a few minutes ago, I believe that we're coming out of a dark age of sorts.
My brother said
because
that,
a lot of information has been denied to us. You
Right.
gotta remember, Timbuktu, George Washington was called the father of the nation. He was called the father of the nation because he supposedly shot down a cherry tree resembling the red dot on the Moorish flag, right? You know, so he made a religious blood oath to say that we must keep the feathers from the heads of the Moors and the sandals from their feet, never to let them understand their nationality nor their ethnicity. And we must enforce this with the severest, you know, of punishment. This is George Washington. That is why he is the father of the country, because of that philosophy. And symbolically what he did. You know, now that's some psychology for your ass.
So check it. When you speak, true enough. Well, you know the whole mind game from the get-go.
Absolutely.
The scripture and all, you know.
Absolutely. So I don't want to interrupt you, but to our point, you know, I would like for one of the most important psychological studies that's ever been done was performed by Mamie and Kenneth Clark. You know, Kenneth Clark, if I'm not mistaken, was one of the first few brothers to have a PhD. Mamie Clark was one of the first few black females to have a PhD, both in psychology.
What's that first name? Mamie?
Mamie and Kenneth Clark.
Okay.
Mamie is the wife. Kenneth, of course, is the husband. You know, they did a study.
Talk to me.
Respectfully, it was her research. But at that time, America was just as gender biased as it was racially biased.
Okay.
So he had to walk her research in the door, but it turned out to be one of the greatest studies in that time, you know, of all time, in my perspective, because, you know, what that study showed was how the self-confidence, the self-esteem, you know, of an individual could be impacted by the social context.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So they had what they called a doll study. So they had about 9 dolls of different shades of color.
Okay.
And they had the kids over here, and they would ask them different questions. Which one is pretty? And they would go from light to the darkest. Which one is pretty? And they would say the lightest.
Right.
And which one is good? The lightest. Which one is ugly? The darkest. Which one is, you know, and they start to show derogatory terms toward their own. And what it showed was that we are impacted by our environment and by, you know, the reality of our environment.
Okay.
You know, this study was duplicated, and it's been one of the most duplicated. It was duplicated by Soledad O'Brien. She did it in 2009 and 2010, right? And she did it in New York. She did it in Atlanta, in the suburbs, and she had all different races of kids, from Asian, you know, to Latina, and all these different races, black, white. And she asked some of the same questions, and we got the same responses.
Okay.
So we do know it's been scientifically proven that this does impact us. To your question, you asked if the black experience impacts our psychology. Absolutely it does. That's why black men and black women respectfully want to see black counselors. You know? You know, and sometimes you might find a mix with some, you know, a man. That doesn't mean that a woman can't learn from a man, or a man can't learn from a woman, or that doesn't mean that, you know, across the lines, across the board, you can't find a good counselor in any realm. But there's a lot of people who have a preference, white, black, you know, and of every different walk of life.
I do think there's a change happening. I am hearing more and more openly spoken the word therapy, and going to see my therapist, and I had a breakthrough with my therapist. I had quite a few people that I've been in the circles with that have mentioned it.
I think a lot of people don't understand, what the process of therapy is. I don't think a lot of people understand that a therapist, his or her goal is not to resolve your issues. They are to help you understand your issues and help you understand your options and include interventions and strategies that'll help you reach your goals.
Say it again, Gerald. Say it again.
But it's not about controlling you or telling you what to do. A good therapist respects your autonomy. You are an intelligent being. You're highly functioning. You run families. You run businesses. And so you're a highly functioning individual. So it's not my job to control you or tell you what to do. It's my job to help you help yourself. I give you a comfortable space, a safe place where there is no judgment. No right or wrong, good or bad, however you feel. This is the place to come and open up and talk about it. We try to keep so much bundled up in here. It's hard to, keep things clear. And a lot of us are running away from trauma. A lot of us don't want to talk about the things that have scarred us, the things that we avoid every day. But brother, from the science, universal laws, the all is the all.
That's right.
You can't take away from it.
That's right.
Where'd you get, where you gonna put it?
That's right.
You can't add to it. Where'd you get that from? It's one. And so, with that being, I think it behooves us as a culture to understand what coming out of this dark age of sorts. I'll use that as an analogy. We're coming out of a dark age where we've been kind of oppressed. We've been kind of held back. Information is being taken from us. Goodness sake, look at what's going on in our state. We're one of the first to pass these, the term escapes me. These laws, they are against talking about the truth. In the schools, they have laws now that state that, you can't discuss history in a way that's derogatory to, a certain race of people, regardless of the facts. You can't teach anything other, basically, than what has been propagated. Which that's not surprising to us because, we've been, again, like I said, we've been indoctrinated, for a long time.
We have.
We go to schools where people of our culture, and many of us, traditionally, even if you're, regardless of the race and ethnicity of your principals and your administrators, I'm talking about the information that's being, and that's a big reason why there's a disconnect. That's a big reason why our kids aren't interested in schools, because of what's...
You said they're not interested in schools?
Right. Right, because it's a place of indoctrination. I mean, come on.
Well, every day we're doing. I mean,
absolutely.
If you really, you know what I'm saying? So,
absolutely.
How do you,
absolutely.
Let me ask you this.
But there are charter schools, and first and foremost, I believe that the mother and the father should be the first teachers of a child. Our children should already have some bearing before we set them out to daycare, before we set them out to Head Start and kindergarten. That some things should already be set in terms of, of course, as children, they're growing into it. But there are certain things that are set in terms of what our morals and values and, what our principles are and what's expected of you when you leave the home,
But that scenario is, it's beautiful in a beautiful set world, But that scenario you just predicted, right? Mother and father laying down the foundation before they send the child out. It's hard. Honestly, it's a rare thing these days. I'm not gonna say all the kids are fucked up, but a lot of the kids that come out off the porch fucked up.
Yeah,
because of the lack of guidance from the parents. Just going back to the village energy.
Yeah, shout out to the black family. I believe that there are more good black families out there than we know of.
I believe that.
It's just that the light is always shine. Yeah, exactly. And I think there are more than we know and we understand. Statistics have shown, they released stats, saying that the black men were some of the most in tune. The black men had more interactions with their kids. They supported them in their athletics and their, and the things of that nature. But traditionally, what is the propaganda says otherwise. But I say that to say, you know, psychologically speaking, I think that we should focus on the existence that we want to create rather than one that, you know, focuses on what we don't want to see. Now, we do have to understand what reality is. And we have to, that's why we have to learn to deal with trauma and understand how it impacts us, you know. Because I think that we all have superpowers. But I think a lot of our trauma, a lot of what we've experienced and don't know how to resolve, don't even sometimes know that it needs to be resolved.
I think, man, you're doing great, brother. I really appreciate your insight, and I'm sure the people, they appreciate your insight as well, man. We do have a question from Migo Alien. The brothers say, Migo, they say, how do we address poverty trauma and its influence on how we handle money? Unity is more difficult when everyone is too scared of losing what they have to come together and win, when they have to come together and win. So basically, he's asking, how do we handle poverty trauma and its influence on how we handle money? My brother Richard Griffin L., he was a guest on the show as well. He kind of came back. Hold on, brother Jerry. Catch your brother for the brother Richard Griffin L. came back with, first, one must understand what money is, because Federal Reserve notes is and are not money, so understanding the banking system will help. Okay. Hey, Miss Peggy. Good answer, bro. Hey, yeah. I appreciate y'all, brothers. Hey, Peggy Langford, she said, great point. We need to understand this. Richard L. Griffin, do you think that indoctrination of the people with dogma system cause cognitive dissonance in dealing with reality? And when it's not, what they think, what do you think emotions and distance play a part in their reality? Michael Bay says, great information for our community. Peace and love. Shouts out to them all. Richard L., I'm going to go back to his. He said, do you think that indoctrination of the people with dogma system can cause cognitive dissonance in dealing with reality? And when it's not, what they think emotions, and what do you think emotions and distance play a part in their reality? So for me, in reality, someone told me this, you know, reality is that person's own perspective. Mm-hmm. And in the science, it teaches that the truth can change. Different variables can change the truth. Mm-hmm. So your truth can be truth, but it cannot. It can also be not my truth. Mm-hmm. And that's a fair square deal, you know?
Right.
So I think it's a good question going into, do we think that the indoctrination of the people with dogma system, I'm not familiar, but I have this computer, I can look it up. If you can cover that, you can. If not, we'll continue on. But the doctrinization of people with dogma system causing cognitive dissonance.
Absolutely. And
absolutely, the brother says.
Yes, because I understand.
Absolutely.
We live in a state of cognitive dissonance.
Can you explain what that is first?
Yes. Cognitive dissonance is when I think and believe of myself to be one way. Like we send our young men to school and they learn, we taught them that they're kings and queens and they're intelligent.
Talk to them.
And then when they get to school, you know, they are in a reality where, let's say, because I'm a male or because I'm a female or because I'm rich or wealthy or I have good clothes, that perhaps I'm chosen. And sometimes I feel, you know, different. My reality is showing me something different from what my thought and belief is.
Okay.
That is cognitive dissonance, is the stress and the anxiety that we feel from that reality.
Ooh.
So every time we see a Michael Brown laying in the streets, you know, or Trayvon Martin, you know, we experience cognitive dissonance because we thought ourselves to be Americans, you know, and to be equal. We know our value. We know we great, right?
Right.
But at the same time, society holds low value for us, and we can be shot down in the street, and there would be no punishment. And these are some of the social ills that we deal with on a daily. And that creates cognitive dissonance. You know, because what we think and believe of ourselves is also being, you know, conflicted with reality. So we have stress. And when we put in that position, you know, yeah, you know, that's a recipe for
Gerald, brother
mental
Gerald.
illness. Or it's the beginnings of mental illness, the beginnings of, you know, some of the emotional and mental problems that will occur because of that.
Unbeknownst to a lot of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Gerald, you mentioned earlier, man, beautiful conversation. I appreciate you, brother. You mentioned earlier about, you know, the George Washington and the cherry pie and the cherry tree and the red representing the Morse, the Moorish perspective of things. I wanted to know, and then you said the word nationality twice. Right. So right now for me and my travelers, I'm kind of on this campaign of, I don't do black, you know, being called black. Right. Black for me, it doesn't relate to who I am or what I am. It's simply a color in a crayon box, you know. But I wanted to ask you, you know, that's my personal preference on it, and I'm on it with the whole black history. I know it's far-fetched. I'd rather choose melanated, you know, because like me and my man Richard be speaking on the term black. He looks at it, he defined it as a condition. It's definitely not a race, you know.
I guarantee you it wasn't one of us that voted that into the legalities.
Even to be selected in it, I was gonna stay on the fact of claiming to be nationality. When we go to claiming nationality, that's one thing we can't do is claim nationality with hollering that we're black.
Well, I agree with that, and I'll say to that thing is that when it comes to, you know, the Moors or the Hebrew Israelites or the indigenous Americans, you know, I say we're all of that. You know, I say because once the Europeans, you know, once the Europeans cut out the back of the Moors and they threw us in the same hole, all of us, by you know, based on the fact that we are melanated. So from that perspective, no, I don't. It's difficult for us to, you know, precisely claim any of that because of the records, because of our history, because of, you know, the mass production of the black and of the black man and woman, because of the institution of slavery. So when you understand the history that we've been through, from my view or my perspective, I think, you know, like myself, we should study them all.
I'm with that, yes.
Yeah.
I am his all.
And then I think once we do, then we can learn to see it from, as you're saying, a melanated perspective, because I think that is a more accurate description.
Very much so.
You know, universally.
Very much so.
You know,
I had this I call this the passport question. You know, the cats, we travel with the passports, but when we get to these, cross the waters and get to these other countries, other worlds, they ask you your nationality, and we say American, you know. But back home, when you come here, you're simply black. So even in that, nationality alone can, I feel, psychologically train the thought to be different of not to walk around with Black Lives Matter is, you know, not Black Lives Matter, Black Lives only, it's the only thing that matters. You know what I'm saying? Because from it, nothing comes from, you know? Right. So if we look at us in a higher power for us, what's, I feel, psychologically, and stop revisiting. I'm not a big fan of Black history when they go back and they show all the terrible trauma that we went through. Absolutely. And how every year we're reminded of that. Psychologically, we're reminded of that, and we participate in that willingly. And a lot of us unknowingly still have that lower perspective of self in so many ways, and they know it too. So by now, I feel like, you know, I have an 8-year-old come home. Mom, are we black? Man, my boy Richard talked about it. Mom, am I a slave? Well, who told you that? Mom, we're at school, we watching the movies, and they say everybody that's black is a slave. So black groups us. And here he is not understanding that, you know, it's not, you're definitely not a slave, but he's relating to that melanation part of being a slave. And also, just kind of bouncing back on knowledge and insight, there's a difference in slavery and being enslaved. And what they did to our people, we were enslaved. And slavery was legal, but being enslaved was the cruel part of the perspective. And I don't know where we went with that, but Jerry, tell me something good. Talk to me.
I think what we're talking about, you know, in a sense is the power of imagery. You know, I think it's important to understand how the television is used and it can be used.
The who?
Television.
Okay, talk to
you
me.
know, because, you know, over time, we have a lot of what we talked about with this doll study are things that we learning from television, you know, because perception, to a lot of people, perception is reality.
That's right.
You know, they only understand what they see on the news, you know. And so, and that impacts all of us.
It does.
You know, and everything that we're talking about impacts a large array of people of all races and colors. We speaking from our own personal perspective.
That's
right.
right.
Which is our prerogative, or which is our duty, our responsibility.
That's right.
To do so.
Talk to me.
But I think television is a powerful tool, you know, and so a lot of things psychologically. Think about this. Television is what they call stroboscopic motion.
Okay.
23 still images they show you in a second. Just that fast. It looks like it's a streaming video, but it's 23 images. Now, what if they decided to take every fourth image and put a message in there? In 1 second, it's going to run across you so fast, it's going to come, you're going to read it below your subliminal threshold. Your ability to know that you just took this information in, your brain processed it and categorized it. And you were totally unaware of it. And this happens all day, every day. It has a huge impact on our psychology because some of the things that we see are so subtle.
So
In the television, in the
word
movies,
too.
the images we portray as artists, the images we portray as actors and actresses, this is being, you know, this. I'll give you this. Denzel won an Oscar for Training Day. Halle Berry won one for Monsters Ball.
All right.
200 years from now, nobody will know all of the films that they did in the Ride Beret. They'll be known for these movies. And they'll be the representation of who black people were, or the melanated people were at this particular time. You understand what I'm saying? So it's important that imagery and these particular movies were awarded because this will be the standard. This will be how our society will be looked at from that greater perspective.
When you said tool, the television was a tool.
Absolutely.
Which way is this tool being used? Is it used, this tool you mentioned, is it used to build or destroy?
Do we control it?
I'm asking you. You said it was a tool.
Right. So
do we control the TV?
Right.
No.
Exactly. So 9 times out of 10, it's probably something that may be, you know, harmful to us, or maybe something that influences us.
It's definitely that.
Unwillingly. You know what I mean? So in my perspective, that is an infringement on your freedom.
So that, in that perspective, it's a tool for destruction.
It could be. Absolutely.
A
lot of the things that,
television.
look at what we're seeing. Yes, we know that. We understand that certain movies, video games, is already proof.
Even the news, propaganda.
Absolutely.
Media, even more than television,
when
even
we
a media source.
Because later we don't realize, we don't think about it as fiction. Well, we hearing these lyrics in these songs over and over again. Studies, research has shown that when you hear a message, even if you deny that message, if you hear it from someone who you admire or you trust, or if you hear it over and over again, that message will be imposed upon you.
I'm with you.
Research shows that. So when we're seeing things, when we're seeing ourselves in derogatory ways, you know, whether we're seeing Denzel as a crooked cop, or whether we're seeing a guy who shows up, a black man who shows up for a meeting in a commercial who's late for the meeting.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's still, whether it's subtle, we're constantly seeing it. That's why, you know, some of these people have what they call the defamations leagues. So if you say something that's negative against these people, then, you know, or you portray a negative image, then you will be attacked for that.
Okay.
Because they understand the power of imagery.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to let themselves or them people be portrayed in that way. It's really important. You know, reading a book versus watching a video.
That's right.
You know, because when you read a book, there is no budgetary restrictions. Your mind can create an elaborate scene that will cost trillions of dollars to produce in a movie.
It's a great analysis, bro.
You understand? So, reading a book is much more powerful because it allows your mind to do the work. And that's what we need. We need to cultivate the minds of our children and enhance them because we want them to become the greatest version of themselves. And along the way, they have to have a better understanding.
Correct.
You know, a better mental stability, better mental, cognitive, you know, skills. You know,
my lips chapped.
better philosophy.
Can't be on here all white lips. Right. My lips chapped out there, let me know. Talk to me. Go ahead, Jerry, my brother.
I say that.
You're not going to beat me on this, man.
No doubt. No doubt. But yeah, I just say that to say, you know, we have a lot of work. We're coming out of this dark place. We have a lot of work to do as a people because no one is going to do it for us. So the way back to that is through better psychology. You know.
Joe, Sister Peggy says, we have to teach our children the past in order to prevent history from repeating itself. We have to teach the good and the bad. We lay the foundation and generations to come would not know. We lay the foundation and generations to come would not know this. Unless we do it, continue to teach it. Absolutely. Then the brother JERROLD Langford. JERROLD Langford. JERROLD Langford. This your son or your brother?
That's my son.
What's up, son? Talk to me. I remember he was a baby. Brother JERROLD Langford has a question. What is some meaningful advice you can have for your young men today? And my son is tuned in. Shout out to Osiris Smith out there at Grambling University who's doing superior in class and on the football field. Love you, son. Check it out. The question is, what is some meaningful advice you have for young men today?
Man, I would say that knowledge is key. Knowledge is key. You know, I think that, you know, understanding that this mechanism, this is the prototype. You know, this brain, this central nervous system, this is the prototype for a lot of the technology that we see and we using out here today.
I'm with you.
And so, you know, feed it knowledge, feed it understanding. You know, because I think the more understanding that we have, the more highly functioning we can become.
I'm with that.
You know, we need to be, but I think we also need, as individually, I think it'll have to occur as we have to have a spiritual revolution. We have to find the truth, or God within ourselves, and no matter how you want to project that.
How do you do that for a young man today, Gerald?
When they grow up in a household like yours.
But hold on, we keep going to that. Right? We keep going to that. That scenario is beautiful. Right. But that scenario, let's work with the kid that doesn't have that scenario.
What I would say is,
how do we do that?
That is still the objective. Whether or not the marriage lasts, the commitment is to the child. Have a commitment to.
So it's coming back to the community, the village.
The family structure.
The family structure.
And family,
that's nation building.
Yeah, exactly. That's freedom and culture.
That's right.
You know, it's whether or not, you know, if mom, you know, leaves dad and gets married and finds somebody she loves and they have a great life and pops is doing well, you know, hey, it's a beautiful thing. We still family. Mm-hmm. We still a unit. We still have a commitment to raise this child. So the environment we choose to bring this child into. You know my child because my child was brought into environments with brothers just like yourself.
That's right.
Intentionally.
That's right.
You know, I think that, you know, the road back to a better psychology is intention. We have to have good habits. You know, we have to be intentional.
That's right.
About being positive, about being productive, about sacrificing.
That's right.
Our time and energy. You know,
right.
if we wasn't given 40 hours a week to, you know, to some job or, you know, just some occupation, man, what could we do with our time? And with this technology, you know, just the pandemic showed us just a glimpse You started to see all types of creativity.
That's right.
You started to find all types of knowledge coming forth.
Everybody,
we open up streams of even information about history, and there
right.
were a lot of debates. And I love the debate. I'm on neither side of it. I just like the fact that the question was asked, and people were able to go back and forth.
Okay.
And learn from the dialogue and grow as individuals. I feel like, while we are part of this society and community, we still have a responsibility to who we are as a melanated people. Come on now, we know, ain't nothing like being at a place where we having a good time as people and there's all love there.
Come to
Man, we want that. We crave that. Couldn't have kept us 95, 96. Man, we was in Atlanta. Freaknik. Oh man, we were there.
Goodness.
We was there. That was that wasn't something, we didn't have Facebook. That wasn't something that was broadcasted. That was really some underground information, and everybody from everywhere came. Brother, did you have a chance?
It's beautiful.
Man.
I had a beautiful chance.
And so as a people, that's what I'm saying. That is culture. That's what, our unity can create. Along with, some controlling some finances, controlling the education system. Shout out to the charter schools, especially the ones that dare to teach the truth. Our children need
charter
the truth.
Schools. You mentioned
Our
that
children need
earlier.
the truth.
A lot of people. It's funny. Words sound power to my brother Rick, Richard Griffin Air. We was just speaking on charter schools and the public school system here in Birmingham. You mentioned charter school earlier. Explain to the people and to me what is this charter school talk and what is that about, if you can.
Right. Well, a charter school is a school that does not exist under the umbrella or the financial restraints of the state education system. They are required, to my understanding. I'm not an expert.
I plan on having someone from the charter school on the show.
But they are allowed. From my perspective, I would love to see a charter school that caters to the culture and teaching right knowledge and teaching good information that our kids can go to school and be proud of. Our kids need to know what TMBUK2 was.
They do.
Our kids need to know who Mansa Musa was.
Right, they do.
Abu Bakr.
That's right. That's Black history.
Right. We need to understand.
What they call it Black history.
Exactly. We need to understand, our history before slavery. Of course, there have been books written on it.
Yeah, I'm tired of that.
That
I'm tired of that
information is out there.
shit.
But when we don't control the school systems, or when, we're shut out of, in many, the political.
I'm realizing also, even just mentioning the political game. It was a big voting day today in the city.
Absolutely.
Shouts out to my brother Abdul. Salute on your win today. Positive expectations on that. And all the other favorite candidates who are doing the right thing for the right reason. But speaking of politicals and politics, I'm just kind of going back to where when we was younger, how we had these great aspirations. Like I wanted to go be a political cat. Then you get older, realize what politicians and politics is about sometimes in these many ways. But now I'm starting to realize just being an honest perspective on the political game. That's what it's all about. The people power, on what you can control with how the politics are made, how the laws are made, how the codes are made to affect all the way down to the local community. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really big on the voting right now. In the past, I wasn't too big on it, me growing. But I'm big on it, so salute to voters out there. And myself, talk to them. Hey, Gerald. Know what you all is, exactly. The primary elections were today. Already. What's up, Keena? Keena all the way from H-Town. Peace to you, sis. H-Town. Gerald, man, we get some great responses, brother. You did a great job on this interview. I'm about to close it on down. We did about the same amount of time.
Okay.
Before we close out, Gerald, I want to say this, brother. Again, I want to thank you for your time, man. And I thank you for your wealth of insight, your wealth of information, your commitment to the betterment of the upliftment of humanity. You know what I'm saying? Your commitment to that.
Yes, sir.
I want to commend you on that. It's a pleasure and an honor again to call you brother and comrade, So I want you to break down to the people again your location. Tell the people about you, bro, and what we need to hear to let our community know that counseling, therapy is a friend of ours, and we need to really embrace it. And I'm going to let you say a few words on that.
Right, yeah. I mean, we touched on a plethora of subjects, but this is no stretch for my normal dialogue.
It's not.
Yeah, and so, but, you know, clinically, yes, I'm a therapist. I'm a licensed counselor here in Birmingham. You know, we hope to, you know, spread our offices throughout the state, you know, in the near future.
You do accept insurance, too.
Absolutely. We accept insurance. We do some Medicaid, private pay, you know. We'll make it happen. I think that...
Organizations, groups.
Yes. Different trainings, organizations, you know, groups, seminars, trainings, and, you know...
You go in the corporate world with it, too, huh?
Absolutely.
All
yeah.
right.
Yeah, you know, we have a background in that.
Talk to me.
Yeah.
My brother there. Hey, Gerald, I'm going to tell y'all something about Gerald. We used to work together. The brother was, you was always, for me, bro, you was always intellectually committed for your personal advancement. You know what I'm saying? We had the knowledge, and we could communicate with it forever. Mm-hmm. But for me to end up here we are, you're a counselor, certified. Mm-hmm. You took that intellectual and committed it to personal gain and to occupation and to entrepreneurship. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Just them general conversations of us spreading the knowledge, studying together, you know?
One of the most educated brothers I've ever met, you know, who by the way, you know, I don't think had any degrees.
No,
brother.
But
the brother said to me, you know, educated people should create jobs. You know, and I find that to be true. Mm-hmm. I find that to be true, you know. So people should, you know, and so that's a part of our evolution, you know. Continue to try to control our destiny.
That's right.
You know, and psychology is definitely a pathway. You know, because when we're able to think,
that's the beginning, man.
You know, exactly. Because we can't even address personal. We can't address enlightenment without proper psychology. We have to be
psyche.
You know, absolutely
psyche.
Understand self. Knowledge of it begins with knowledge of self.
So check this out. You know you got a brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
They tell you got a brain. You can see your brain. You want to take your brain out and put that brain in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
But you also know you got a mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know you got one.
Spirit. You can't touch it.
But where is it?
It cuts you up in 1,000 pieces.
Can't touch it.
That's energy.
But you know you got one.
That's energy.
That's I am.
Yes, sir. I am.
Talk to me.
Absolutely.
Tell the people what they need. That we need some therapy in the community.
Yeah, definitely. I think we should reach out. You know, I think that we should talk about therapy. We need to discuss it more commonly. You know, and those of us who, you know, are seeing therapists or seeking help, we need to share that information.
That's right. That's a good one.
We need to offer people help. We need to, you know, you're talking about elections. You know, there's a lot of money out here, you know, right now for mental health.
Okay.
We need to make sure that some of that money is being diverted in our community.
That's right.
You know.
That's right.
And so, you know, because it's a real thing. If we're going to grow as people, our psychology, you know, has to be a great part. We need to invest in that part of ourselves.
That's right.
You know, we spend so much money on houses, cars, clothes, you know, but how much time do we spend dealing with the real self, the true self, with how I feel? Mm-hmm. You know, what are my thoughts?
Man,
how can I feel better?
That's right.
You know, why am I, you know, consistently having this reoccurring thought? Mm-hmm. You know, what do I need to heal from my past? Mm-hmm. I've been hurt, you know, and I want to heal. And that's what it's about. And I think healing can come in many forms. Mm-hmm. And I just think, you know, this is one of the pathways.
I agree.
You know, but I think it'll have to come from intention. You'll have to want to get better. You have to understand that we have some issues and have a desire to get better. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, by any means necessary. Just like we do go for anything else we want. When we want that car, when we want that house, when we want that husband or that wife, we set ourselves to the test. And we should dedicate our energy to the self. That's right. You know, to the internal self, the true self. So we can, you know, see who and what we can become.
That's right.
Because right now, we've been relegated to, a working class people. That was the intentions. We just speaking facts. That was the intentions, so it wasn't necessary. It ain't necessary to teach emotional intelligence in the public schools. It's not necessary to talk about what the brother was talking about, finance. It's not necessary to talk about that if the system is geared to only create people who going to be working class citizens.
That's right.
You just need to know enough to go out here in these fields.
That's right.
We have to desire to be greater.
Yeah.
We have to, yes,
sir.
we have to raise our vibrations.
That's right.
And challenge ourselves to see who and what.
Talk to me.
I am.
But the Holy Ghost finna come in, man.
Yeah.
Preach.
That's it, bro.
Yeah, that's the science. Talk to me, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I do. Oh man, I got the Holy Ghost in me. What was I finna say? Emotional intelligence. We continuing on, man. Emotional intelligence.
Absolutely.
That's the people. That's TC Entertainment in the building. Emotional intelligence, Gerald. You such a magnificent guest tonight. To where we keep on continuing, keeping on. Emotional intelligence. Give us an analysis of what that is. Talk to us to the people that don't know, might want to know about that. What is emotional intelligence?
In short, my favorite definition is emotional intelligence is our ability to identify our emotions, to understand how these emotions are impacting us. And when I am impacted by an emotion, how does that impact the people around me? And once more, my ability to manage these emotions in real time.
Talk to me.
When I'm talking to my wife, or when I'm chastising my son, emotional intelligence is the intelligence.
Okay.
Academic intelligence, everybody that can be measured on so many different scales.
Okay.
And we all have talents, but without emotional intelligence, we may not have the opportunity to allow our talents to go on the table. We have to learn conflict resolution in the melanated community. We have to learn that, this can't be our go-to. I'm upset. We got to learn how to work through being upset and understand you ain't the only person being upset.
Man, you talking some good talk, man. That's some real good shit.
You ain't the only one that's mad. You're not the only one that's going through something. You don't have the right. Sometimes a person can do something in a situation. Let's say, for instance, if it's a person can do something in a situation that causes a reaction. Sometimes that reaction can be more damaging than the initial thing that was done.
It usually is that way.
In
Birmingham.
And so we have to understand emotional intelligence, and we have to learn to
diffuse that.
Yes, we have to learn to first, as parents, we have to learn to use it to create a positive environment, which is one of the biggest issues with family, which is the point of family. Because when you have a family, you have a more stable environment. It doesn't have to be perfect. We all want to see the best case scenario, but any version of it is better than no version of it.
And I'm agreeing with you on that because, Gerald, in today's
that's
time,
I don't want to say that for people who've been harmed in a family situation. I'm not
exactly.
talk that.
Respect to that.
Exactly.
And how you was respecting on that, I also wanted to bring up the fact that in today's time, 2024, the structure of the family has actually changed too.
Right.
Right. The what we would consider family now has different variables now. So, and I feel it's the same way. That still is something. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Because having a support, but having a stable environment where we treat each other with respect in the presence of our children.
That's right.
That's why they said back in the day, hey, put the kids to bed. We've been in parent mode all day. We've been on our best behavior.
There you go.
I've been wanting to kiss you since 5 o'clock.
Right.
Or I've been wanting to say something to you since 4 o'clock. Well, don't you ever do? You know what I mean?
Right.
We want to cut loose. We need to as parents because it's important, the environment.
That's right.
It's important the environment that we show that we and I say this as a parent who's made mistakes. The environment that we create for our children is really important.
Very important.
You know, it's a small thing that people don't understand the outcome,
man,
because the environment where you come from, if there is structure, if there is rules, if there is laws and morals, that individual is going to take that out into the world with them.
Truth told. Truth told.
You know, and even if they, for a period of time in their life, go away from that, eventually they'll come back. You know. And they'll come back regardless whether they was taught was wrong or right. You know, from which they grown. That's what they'll return to. So if we want to produce, you know, healthier, more intelligent, you know, more productive, more, you know, whatever, we want to create the best versions of ourselves, you know. And a family dynamics is a great place to do that because of the support that it brings, because of the unity, because of the foundation from which you can teach all of the things, all of the life skills that our children need.
You know, that's the science teachers. The woman is the.
We talking about some real work right here. You know, some folks just want to be married just to say that they married. But no, we talking about really nation building.
That's how you build. That's how you build nation.
The family is the foundation.
That's right.
It's
That's
the
we used to have the village. We used to have the village. If I think about it, if you really think about it,
a collection of families.
That's right. A collection of families.
Absolutely.
The village. That's right. A community, a system of families.
Yes. Yes. And we have that. So, like-minded people, we have to deal with our psychology, and we have to break away from, you know, our inhibitions that's keeping us from linking with other people and investing like so many other cultures and people. We see people from other ethnicities, they come into America, they invest in their money, they pool in their resources, they start in businesses, they got grocery stores, they doing this. You know, our situation is much different, you know, because I think we get a lot of negative attention. It's according to the system. But this is the key. This is the code. We got to focus on what we want. We acknowledge the issues, but if our goal is to go higher, then let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Joe, man, we're going to have to get out of here, bro. So
let's do it, man.
Talk, man. I'm on the clock right here.
All right, let's get out. Let's get out.
But we're going to sign out, man. Once again, Gerald Langford, my dear brother. Let the people know where you're located again. And if you have a website, maybe shout that out too. Right
now, I'm on Psychology Today. You can find me on Psychology Today.
That's a website, Psychology Today.
Right, yeah, it's a website. I'm actually looking for someone to build a website. So I'm probably at the right place at the right time.
You are.
If you find with them websites, holler at my man TMBUK2.
Word Sound Power.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get me a...
You heard the Word Sound Power. He's looking for a website. All right. I want to thank you again, brother, for coming to Talk to Me Tuesday with TMBUK2. All right. Respect. All right. This is TMBUK2, and we signing out. And we want to thank you again. I hope my lips ain't chapped on here, though. Talk to me.
It's too late.
I'm going to lick these. Talk to me. Yeah. Get loose, talk to me. We want to thank Gerald again for coming and hanging out with us, y'all. I appreciate you and love yourself because you're the only you got. Talk to me. See you next week. Next Tuesday, we got a dear sister friend of mine, Kim Richardson's going to be coming aboard, and we're going to keep this thing rolling. Kim Richardson is a yoga instructor as well as a yoga therapist.
Okay.
And she uses yoga to help the community as well. So we're going to continue this conversation on a different branch of health. And we're going to keep shining again on Talk to Me Tuesday with TMBUK2. We'll talk to you soon. Peace. All right. Thank you, Joe.
That was nice. Appreciate you.
Let me do it the ghetto way.